Poppy Playtime Chapter 4 comes out in 2025, so here's every theory the community has came up with, from Poppy being the prototype to a new main antagonist.
I stroke my pickle.
In every single chapter, we have a new antagonist that helps the prototype. So by this standard, we know that Chapter 4 will be no different. The community has speculated about this antagonist since Chapter 3's release, but recently we've actually gained some solid evidence on who it will be. Our first piece of evidence is from the Sheep Rampage interview that has Mob saying that there will be two antagonists, but the way he says it makes it seem like the antagonist will have split personalities or even have a counterpart like Huggy and Kissy. The next piece of evidence is from the Chapter 1 review video on the Mob YouTube channel, which has a code that when put through a base 32 cipher says on felted feet and with bated breath, sleep draws ever near. This most likely means that the next antagonist is a silent hunter kind of like Catnap, that will make you have to listen for little noises to tell if it's nearby. This would be extremely scary, but it also begs the question of who the other antagonist will be, leading to the next theory.
Do you suffer from a lack of a father figure?
Now, I know what you're thinking, which is that Dog Day said he was the last of the smiling critters. But the problem with this is, number one, there's no signs that they're dead, and number two, before this interaction, Ollie said that Catnap was the only one left when we clearly saw that that wasn't true. Now, you could be saying that he said that because Ollie is the prototype, but that just backs up this theory more. See if Ollie was lying to us about Dog Day to keep us away from him because he's a good guy. Then if Dog Day is lying to us about Bobby, then it is to keep us away from her because she is a bad guy. This would make sense, and would also be backed up by Bobby's cardboard cutout, which says a very distinct line. Now, normally the player would look at this line and think it's just a creepy little Easter egg, but if we look at the other cutouts, we know that that isn't the case, because all of the other ones show how their respective critter gets killed or them killing another character before dying to starvation themselves. But Bobby's cutout is different here because it talks about her just hiding and waiting in the factory, which would fit with the narrative of being hunted in Chapter 4. And even past this, Bobby also has a motive that we left her to rot in the factory. This paired with her crazy personality would make for an extremely scary villain that lurks in the dark. But wait, this just describes the aforementioned first antagonist, not the second. So who will the second be? This sounds absurd, but we have concrete evidence on him at least still being alive. It all starts with the Chapter 1 review video that is voiced over by Harley, which wouldn't seem weird unless you take into consideration how is he talking to us in the present time game outside of the VHS tape.
And we shall see what comes of it, won't we?
Now, most people's first response to this was saying that this was actually the prototype speaking to us, which makes sense, unless you consider how Harley is going to be the main voiceover for the other chapters as well. Tell me how the prototype is going to talk about himself and expose everything? It just doesn't make sense. So instead, I have a theory that Harley turned himself into a toy. Now, this makes sense because our last mention of Harley in game was when a worker said
Normally I'd have Dr. Sawyer do this, but he's, out, let's say.
Which could either mean that he died or disappeared. I think that he secretly turned himself into a toy in the now boarded off innovation room, which would also fit with his role of touring people into toys. Now you might be asking, how is he going to be an antagonist? Well, I believe that the toys found him and are forcing him to work on and repair certain toys in the innovation room, which would lead unto the next theory.
Throughout heaven and earth, I alone am the honored one.
Have you ever wondered why we don't see Huggy's body after we kill him in Chapter 1? Well, most people just took the lazy route and said that the prototype accumulated him instantly. If that was the case, then why is there blood and blue fur over this strange vent in Chapter 2? What makes sense to me at least is that Huggy was too damaged and broken to be accumulated, hence why he was sent to the innovation room to be repaired by Harley Sawyer. This would play into him being one of the mini-antagonists like Miss Delight, or possessed Dog Day. This would also explain why Kissy is being taken at the end of Chapter 3. Why would she be taken alive just to be assimilated or killed? It wouldn't really change anything or help anyone. And Poppy wouldn't be as scared as she is if it was just one of those two possibilities. So from my guess, the prototype dragged Kissy to the innovation room to be quote-unquote fixed. This would mean that Kissy would look more like the fan-made character Killy Willy and would be trying to kill us instead of help us in Chapter 4. Mob would probably combine the two and make a chase scene with Huggy and Kissy teaming us to try to kill us. Now, on the other side of this coin is the much more likely, more gruesome possibility that Kissy is just going to be used to repair Huggy and will be disposed of or replaced with mechanical parts that help fix her, or will just kill her. Overall, both options suck and would mean that we have to face off against Huggy again with him having support now. But I doubt that we're going to find another box right above an unsteady platform again, so the only way to kill these guys is to electrocute them. Oh, wait. Hear me out, instead of flare gun, it's just gun. No, but I do think that we will get some sort of weaponized grab pack. That will help us kill toys in creative ways. Think like how in the Catnap boss fight we overcharged our electric grab pack to electrocute him, but instead we can just shoot the bad guys a lot faster. Think like a finger gun or energy hand that can be charged up by hitting a little grab pack square, and then can be used to kill little enemies like tiny smiling critters, or used to stun big enemies like Huggy Wuggy or Kissy Missy. This grab pack would make sense because we already have a mobility hand and a flare gun to lead toys away from us. So a puzzle-solving hand or weaponized hand is the only one we need next, but it will be nothing without a good location. People have speculated that Chapter 4 will take place in either the labs or in a new route that takes us upwards towards the innovation station. For the labs, we know that it is where the prototype and other toys were experimented on, and where the orphans were taken to be turned into toys. We also know that it's where the dead humans were kept, but we know now that all of the humans are, let's just say, fully eaten. So with this information, we can assume that the labs will be a hospital-like place that has a lot. And when I say a lot, I mean a lot of skeletons and dried up blood that also might lead to certain overgrown areas that would be perfect for a hunter-like character. I'm guessing that if we're in the labs, our main goal will be to find the main body of the prototype, which would mean that we would have to fight through different types of areas to find the prototype, who is most likely still in his testing chamber. This would result in a boss fight that most likely results in us either losing or only being able to kill the Chapter 4 antagonist, leading to a new location for Chapter 5. The other theory besides the labs is that we will be ascending throughout the factory and will be traversing through new areas as we do so. This would result in us finding this weird Huggy escalator room and possibly running into hidden rooms meant for scientists only, filled with logs and new threats as well. I'm guessing that this area will also be filled with vegetation because it will be near to the surface and also be completely abandoned by the toys, except for maybe the Chapter 4 antagonist that we know will also be a hunter, so I doubt he'll mind the vegetation. This would lead us to the innovation room where, wait, the innovation room?
Have you ever seen the Drake video, the one where it goes boing, boing?
I know I've talked about the innovation room before, but I haven't went into depth of why it's important. The innovation room is important because it's one of the only rooms that we know barely anyone is allowed entry into. This means that the innovation room more than likely holds the secrets to how these toys work, and more than likely holds a crap ton of lore as well. We don't know much about it, but know that it's important and that we are going to it someday, so I imagine that we will arrive there this chapter before we descend even deeper in search for Kissy Missy or a way to bring her back. If the previous theories about where Kissy will be taken to are correct, then Poppy will probably guide us to go the faster way to the innovation station to cut off the prototype and save Kissy Missy. But from my guess, this way will be extremely difficult to navigate. Okay, this is a completely different direction, but many people right now think that Catnap will come back in Chapter 4 because of the aforementioned teaser, which perfectly describes Catnap and what he does. From the felted feet to the sleep, it seems like he might be coming back, but with a few problems. See, at the end of Chapter 3, we electrocuted him, and then the prototype dragged him out for a reason that we still don't know. So, some of the community has speculated that Catnap was so impressive because he knew the prototype will not accumulate him, but instead bring him back to life in a new terrifying way. Many people have speculated that Poppy is not completely acting on her own, and actually furthering the prototype's goals despite her saying that she wants to kill him. This could be because Poppy knows that the prototype's plan is the only one that can work. Here, let me explain. A few months ago, Game Theory posted a theory that said that the prototype is keeping toys in the factory to make them starve to death before people find out about the experiments and recreate them. This, of course, is the only non-inhumane way to prevent the toys suffering, so it would make sense to Poppy, who clearly cares about the toys. Besides that, Poppy acts way too weird around us for the whole let's kill the prototype scene at the end of Chapter 3. For most of the game, she has been a nonchalant dreadhead until she talked about the prototype. And before you say this is because she felt emotion behind it, she literally was like, oh, thank you, I'm free, I guess. And then let's also mention the random death messages that say, let's burn it down and kill every toy, which also would go with the prototype's plan to making sure the outside world has no idea about it. But anyways, some community members say that this evidence is enough to make the theory more that Poppy is the prototype somehow, because you never see the prototype on screen with Poppy. Okay, I'm done writing this, clearly. Toddlers are making these theories, and like and subscribe, and I'm in your walls.